Well, it finally happened. Out with the old and in with the new. Now let me preface this by saying that this is new to us. It's a 2023 model and we bought it used. So January 1st here in California, they outlawed the new sale of gas-powered lawn equipment. Riding mowers, push mowers and implements, weed whackers, what have you, no longer able to be sold in this state of California. So where does that leave us? Well, let me go over kind of the nitty-gritty on what's happened with this. So last weekend, I had it out. I was using it, running it, doing some mowing, got almost all the way done with the grass, stopped about right there, quit. Tried to restart it, coughed and sputtered a bit, didn't want to restart. And I looked at the fuel and pulled the line off. Line was fine, clear of any obstructions, dumped fuel out of it just fine, hooked it back together. And then out there, when I was doing my troubleshooting, this is a new fuel pump, by the way, I undid this line, which goes to the carburetor. And when you motor the engine, crank it, it should start spitting a bunch of fuel out of there. It wasn't on the original pump, so I replaced it. Verified, of course, that I had pulse coming off of the pulse line from the crankcase. Felt like there should have been enough pulse. I didn't measure it with any tools or gauges or anything, but I could feel on my thumb that there was pulse as this thing was turning. Threw it all back together, started it up, got it going, started running just fine with the new pump on it. Started going everywhere again this week. It's been 1 week. And right about the same spot, it died again. Pulled all the fuel out of the line, drained the fuel filter entirely, couldn't see any fuel in it, and it just died. It didn't want to pull any more fuel out. So I took the line off again, dumped it into a canister. No obstructions, nothing wrong with it. It was clear as can be. I checked this other line, it's clear too. This line is clear, there's no obstructions. Either there is something internally wrong with that carburetor, which I'm gonna pull this thing off next weekend, clean it out, see if there's anything wrong with it, throw it back together, see what that does. But anyways, so I was out there again today and it quit. And this was after we had picked this one up. So both me and my dad, right when we were about to unload this thing off, I said screw it and I tried to start it again. So it started just fine, ran okay. We're both basically like hitting each other on the forehead and wondering like, did we really need to go out and spend, you know, $2,000 on this newer one, as opposed to getting this one going? Well, sure enough, it screwed up again, died, and both of us basically feel much better about this purchase. This thing's got something internal going on with it, and we're both done with it. We've put so much time, energy, and money into this thing over the past 10 years of ownership that we finally decided to throw in the towel. And this machine's got how many hours on it? 684, almost 685 hours. It's been a good horse, but you know, just going over some of the things that I've done with it. I've rebuilt the deck probably 2 or 3 times. That's nothing to not expect. None of that surprises me. Probably gonna have to do the same thing with that one over the same amount of time. It's had 3 or 4 tune-ups. It's had, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 oil changes, air filters. I've serviced the transmission twice. I've had issues with the transmission. I have reason to believe that that's on its way out as well, but it still works for now. We replaced the seat. The seat is brand new. We replaced this 7, 8 years ago, threw this on. I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. I honestly can't remember. So this seat's still in perfect condition because we've had the cover on it. It's got the updated gas tank. Had to do that repair to it. Also did the John Deere modification and stuck wheel bearings into the front axles. They had sleeve bearings on it before. It's had 2 new batteries over the course of its life. This was just an add-on. I've replaced the fuel line going from the tank to the carb once. I have, what else have I done? Christ, I can't even remember half the things I've done with this. At least 2 new sets of tires all the way around in that amount of time. Probably about 30% of that, a third of that, is just normal wear and tear items. Nothing that's a huge deal. Nothing that, you know, I'm not going to have to do with this one. But unfortunately, and we both kind of came to the agreement the last time with the transmission issue, once I got that fixed, if this thing's screwed up again, we're going to get rid of it and get something newer. And that's what it did. That's what it did. So unfortunately for it, it's pretty well done. The hood's seen better days. I've got the ducting here held on with some aftermarket hardware. Oh yeah, the key switch is newer. I replaced that at one point. But anyways, it's been a good horse. It seems like if it's not something with the carburetor, it's got, when it hits operating temperature, it just cuts out. And it has something to do with the compression if it's not wanting to pull the fuel. Because as I said, this pulse line is driven off crankcase pressure, which comes from the spinning motion of the piston rings. It's actually kind of a genius, simplistic but genius design, and many different small engine companies use it. But once the compression drops off enough, and I won't know this until I do a compression test, it's not going to have the power, the strength to pull the fuel from the tank through the line and into the carburetor, fuel pump or not. It's just not going to have the correct amount of pressure drawing it out, and it's not going to do it. Now I could put a 12-volt electric fuel pump on this and probably be okay, but like I said, we're done with it. We put so much time and money into this. It's just, we're done with it. I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. So it could be a leaky valve. It could be something with the compression. Once it reaches operating temperature, it starts to lose compression. I have honestly no idea. It could be anything. So before we bought this one, I looked into a replacement V-twin engine for it. Kohler, Briggs, didn't matter. Couldn't find anything. Looked at Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has one. Somehow they're still able to sell gas-powered engines in California. But it's the horizontal version. So the crankshaft is going out that way. I need one that goes down. It's not going to be able to drive this mower. I looked around for some broken mowers, Husqvarnas, Craftsmans, whatever, with V-twins in them. Couldn't find them. Nothing available with a bad transmission. The only thing I found a broken Craftsman with a busted engine in it. Everything else on it was good, but I need the engine. Some of you might say, well, why not swap this one in? Well, this one's a single cylinder. This has an electric clutch on it that drives the blades. I don't even know if it'll work. This thing puts out 15.5 horsepower. This puts out 23. I doubt it's got the power to drive that deck. I mean, we probably could have monkeyed around with it and tried to get it to work, but the wiring harness is different, so I just didn't even want to deal with it. Didn't want to deal with that anyways. So we started looking around. Found a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot because there was a lot around the surrounding areas on a 3-mile radius, but there's a lot of mowers that are in this ballpark of age, 10 years old. This one's 20. There were some of these too, not older Husqvarnas, Craftsmans, 20 years old or so. But, you know, am I buying something I'm going to have to restore? Kind of like how I did with this one. It had been sitting out under a tree, Dad's friends for years, and they just got tired of it sitting there, so they gave it to us for free. I got it working, and yeah, I basically had to restore it to get it to work. And probably at that point, I dumped about $500 into it, all the parts that I had bought for it at that time to get it running. Now, of course, I've spent more than that over the years, but anyways, I digress. There's plenty of these older machines on there, but I was just like, you know, Am I buying somebody else's problems? Yeah, I can fix the stuff, but am I buying somebody else's problems? And the dad was more on the side of getting something newer. He started looking at Lowe's and came to the realization that, yeah, that stuff's no longer legally allowed to be sold. Nobody has any riding mowers in stock that are old stock. They've all been sold. So the word's definitely gotten out. It is what it is. So this one, I just used it. Finish up along the fence line. There were some spots over there that I didn't get with that one. Basically finish up that one's job. Spent about an hour. Hardly used any fuel. It's still reading almost full. It's probably used about 1/8 of a tank. It's a lot quieter. The turning radius is way better than that one. So that's a huge plus. And somehow it's even more comfortable. This is a lower model. It's an S110. Figuratively, it's a lower model. That's an L130. The L line used to be the entry-level line. This one is now, I believe. This was not purchased at Lowe's. It was purchased at our local John Deere servicer, one of them in our area. Apparently it's still under warranty. We bought it from the original owner, and older couple. They had 3 other ones for their property, 2 of which were relatively old, and they had a next to new Husqvarna. I don't know why they bought this one. I don't know why they needed 4 of them, but they had 4 of them. They had 4 riding mowers. So I messaged her this morning, saw this thing on there. I'd seen it on there for about a month, but I messaged her and I was basically like, you know, would you take this price? This is what we can scrounge together between the 2 of us. And more or less, we came to an agreement, and well, we ended up going to get it. 2-hour round trip, loaded it into the back of the dad's truck, and brought it back here. So you guys will get a full review on this machine. There's going to be a few things that I do differently with it because it's not a beater mower like that one was. Namely, I'm not going to be using the washout port on it. I'm just going to be using compressed air and my electric blower to blow it off, wipe it off after we're using it. But I can tell you guys right now, in just every single way, it's a better mower than that one. Even though it's got 4 less horsepower, apparently. I didn't notice a difference. But I think all in all, it was a great buy. We're both extremely satisfied with the purchase. Before the ban, we could have probably picked this thing up for about $500 less than what we got it for, but you know what? We had the cash, we needed it, we needed to cut the grass, and we bought it. So, of course, I got to get you guys a start and run. See if it'll start it. Listen how quiet this is. She's quiet. Looks like we're missing these little rubber things here. I'll have to make some more, get some more of those, but yeah, those are supposed to be on that side. You guys will see some videos on this. It's only got 28.9 hours on it. Hardly used, probably not even broken in. The lady's gonna try and get us the documentation and original purchase receipts for it because, like I said, it's still under warranty. I have no idea how long that warranty is, but she's gonna try and get it for us. So you guys will get a full review of it, my overall thoughts, and honestly, based on the first look, start, tertiary use, I think it'll work out great for out here. Stay tuned for more videos. Later.